Yeah, I mean, a script is mainly to keep things in order to make sure that you don't forget to ask certain key questions, because I've done it without a script at times, and then
Yeah,
sometimes I'm like, oh, I know exactly what I want to say, but I forgot to bring this up, and
you're
it's
out
to
of
kind of help
place.
keep you on track. But also, if you are to translate or you create your own script for a certain language, the things make sure that you maintain control, which is always to finish everything with a question, so then
Yes.
you stay within control there.
All right, guys. So welcome to the Monday morning Q&A. We got your host here. My name is John. We got Albert in the house. So we're gonna go right off from the start. These are specific questions that a client would ask to the professional, which is going to be you guys for the agent. So Albert, if I have a client or I'm the client and I go and tell you, I already have life insurance at work. Why do I need to buy more life insurance?
Yeah, so that objection comes up fairly often, and it's not quite really the objection. I think a lot of them are either completely uninformed or misinformed, because then a lot of times they'll be like, "Oh, I don't need insurance; I already have it through my work,"
Mhm,
or we're just going to stick with our work coverage instead.
mhm.
Where in reality, like, it's just insufficient. The reality is most people are not planning on working till the day they die.
Yep.
It's not practical for one, but also things change in life. Things change in the economy, as we've all seen with these bank runs and people panicking in the economy. So just let the client know, like, hey, it's great that you have this coverage already. Just go ahead. You want to take advantage of that whenever it's available to you, especially if it's free, or even if it's relatively cheap. You want to take advantage of as much as you can. But it's important that you have individual coverage that you're in total control of, that you always will have in place for yourself.
Right. So quick question I would say to the client, it's like, great. So when do you want to stop working? Or when are you gonna work forever? Okay. So going back to the four needs of life insurance, why most clients have life insurance at work, it's to cover their income protection, right? And most companies, dependent on how big your company you're working with, you'll either have a freebie life insurance. It's going to be like a small 10,000, 20,000. If it's a big company, they can go multiples of your salary. They can go 3 times, 5 times, 7 times, 10 times. I've seen some crazy type of good jobs like linemen's, electrical pole workers. They have like 10 times plus their salary. So back at our old company, those were hard to sell, right? But they had good income. So you have to show that there's a specific purpose for that. But one of the things I've heard of, your life insurance at your work, think of it like a company car. You have it while working. When you stop working, you retire, you got to give it back. Okay. So, or you get laid off, you're no longer working available. So you got to consider what's the next step or what's your backup or supplement on top of that, because you're not going to work forever. We have people that get sick. If you get sick, you get on disability, you get on workman's comp. But if you can't recover, you're really sick, you lose your job. And that's before you pass away. So now you pass away without life insurance. You have nothing to fall back on. So we tell our clients, maximize as much as you have at your work, but what do you have on top of that? Okay. So that's our main thing, is to be able to supplement and provide.
Actually, to touch on a point that you made,
Yeah.
you said linemen, people that work up, the utility poles and
Mhm.
electricians in particular. You said it's typically 10 times their coverage, so you would think they have sufficient amount of coverage and they'd be
Yeah.
difficult to sell. Ironically, I found the different experience. Those guys, they've seen other people fall off those poles.
Yep.
They've seen them get fried electrically. So I mean, like, they were actually pretty easy to sell, because
Yeah.
because they saw the need for it already. Like, they know it's a risky profession. They know they're exposed to a lot of risk, and I think for the people that don't think about it, that's the ones that are difficult to sell, because they just think,
Yes.
oh, I'm going to be covered somehow, some way, without even thinking about it. Which is another note I wanted to add to that. It's like, if you run into people that say they already have insurance, I think it's important as agents for you to follow up and ask, what type of coverage is that?
Mhm.
Who's it with? How much coverage do you have? Ask these follow-up questions, because for a lot of our clients that we used to run into, they say, oh yeah, I have 500,000 through the bank.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how much you pay for that? They're like, I don't know, $15, $30. And it's like, yeah,
$10.
it's an accidental coverage. And,
Yes.
so like, a lot of times, if we just don't ask these follow-up questions to kind of uh, do more discovery and figure out what it is exactly they have, we can't help them. And you can't help them understand that it's good that you have this additional coverage, but it's not covering exactly what you think it's going to cover down the line.
Yeah, that's true. So as the agent, when they're asking you these questions, you're not there to rebuttal. You want to make sure that you're there to educate first. Okay. So you have work insurance. Well, do you know how work insurance work? So you educate through asking questions. And if they can't answer it, then that's when you can provide the answer. So one of my lines I would say to my client, okay, great. You have life insurance at your work. Assume you die today. You died today. What's the next step your wife's going to do? And they're just going to be like, I don't know, call the job. Yeah. Who do they call? It's not the job that provided the insurance, right? It's the insurance company. So how do they have a policy? Do they have any paperwork? Well, here's how it works. They will go to the HR department. HR department is going to scratch their head and say, how do I file this claim? Let me go through our contracts and our insurance carriers that we provide. Let me find an agent rep, connect with them. Agent rep says, okay, here's the claim. Let's go file it. They go through the process. It could take maybe as quick as 3 weeks to 4 weeks, right? But usually a little bit longer, right? 2 to 3 months. So then that's when I would follow up a question. So if you're waiting on this money 2 to 3 months down the line, what do you got on top of that? Do you have any savings? Do you have any bank accounts saved up for your mortgage payment? Okay, so here's where our products can come in. We have simplified issue policies, can pay within 2 to 3 weeks. We can get you money for your mortgage. We can get money for the college. We can get money for the burial. Because if you need to bury someone right now, you're not going to wait 2 to 3 months until you get the insurance money to take care of that. So through the discovery that we talk about, through the questions, along with the education, we create a problem that they don't see, and we provide the solutions with our products. So you just got to maintain questions and an understanding, and of course, confidence in your ability to help out what you can. So we got a question from Ivan in here. Are the insurance that banks offer term or accidental insurances?
Well, typically, if it's directly to the bank, it's normally an accidental death coverage, and then that's especially if they have a mortgage to that bank, then they offer that. Every once in a while, certain banks will partner with certain insurance carriers to do like a group term or something like that. But it's never going to be a permanent individual coverage at least from not that I've seen them.
Yes,
my experience. So it's always going to be an accidental or term, and if it's really cheap or a large amount of coverage, it's almost certainly going to be an accidental coverage.
Yeah, there's also back in our old company too, right? They would partner with banks. So the idea of these there's banks, and banks have clients, and these insurance companies, they want clients. So they would partner with them and provide freebies. They would give $2,000 accidental death and dismemberment coverage for free for being part of a bank or a credit union or whatever. But ideally, what they want to do is they want to turn those clients interested into real clients, right? So then they would have an agent representative contact them. Then they can sell them a term, or if they just get the freebie, it could just be accidental.
It's more of a ploy for them to market.
Yeah, it's marketing. That's all it is. So you would want to, I just had the same experience right now on the live dials. I was talking to someone, and he was saying he's getting $300,000 for him and his wife covered for $140 a month. And he just got it. He's 67, his wife is 60, and he just told me he had a stroke less than a year ago in May. So I'm thinking, I'm pretty sure it's accidental only. And if it is, it's kind of high. And he said the company name, and I said, I represent that company. Let me run the rates for the both of you guys. It's like $60 cheaper. So I don't know what you got. So, which we're going to reconvene. We're going to do another appointment. He's going to look for the paperwork. He's going to text me stuff. So these questions, I came in with the confidence in my ability of what we provide, what the competition is. So he kind of gained a little bit of trust, and then he's going to look into it. So hopefully we can help him out.
Which is another thing for you guys as agents. I mean, obviously you need a little bit of exposure to the business for you to gain a little experience to understand, what doesn't that situation that John just brought up didn't even sound right.
Right.
If the guy just had a stroke and he's that age, and him and his wife are both covered for $300K plus or whatever.
Yeah, at 67.
I'm like, that doesn't sound right. There's got to be something off with this. So
yeah, and he said he got it through the bank. I'm like, oh, okay, of course.
So I mean, if you guys are newer agents and you run into the situations, just ask them like, hey, can you grab that policy? Can you just look it up, see what it says? Because I'm trying to understand and make sure that you have the right coverage, that you have what you think you have.
Yeah.
So
we always got to look at the fine print, and also we got to be able to explain the differences in those policies. So I just reiterated saying, most likely it's only an accidental death or dismemberment. So if you died naturally, it's not going to pay out. So he means well. He's paying $140 for it, but we got to put people in the right places, and this is where it's great with FFL. We have all these carriers and products available for them.
Well, before you move on, let me you earlier going over the situation of you asked the client, what happens next, to kind of paint the picture for them, right? Because for those clients that just want to be very glib and they don't want to really address the issue. So you'll deal with a lot of these clients when you guys
Yes.
are calling your leads, and then some of them will just be like, oh yeah, I mean, I think I got this at work, and I think I have this much coverage, or I think we took care of this a long time ago. But they don't even know how much they're paying, or they don't even know any of the details. So what would you say in those situations if like you start trying to paint the picture and they're like, what would your wife do in this situation, or what would your spouse do in this situation? And the client just says like, oh, I don't know, they could just bury me in the backyard for all I care. Like, what do you say to that?
Yeah.
They're not really caring to listen to what's going on here.
Yeah, we get a lot of those clients too when you're trying to pitch them a final expense funeral plan, and it said, "Who cares? I'm gone." So what do you say? So at first standstill, you gotta discern the idea of the client. Is he really saying that? Does he really not care? He doesn't give a damn, or he's saying it bluffingly because he doesn't want to be sold, right? He doesn't want to be told, sold, and so is it a matter of pride issue or really behind the scene a smoke screen of an affordability issue? So it's all up in the air. It's a smoke screen. So that's what we got to identify. So this is where your confidence in yourself, your ability to ask the right questions and glaring questions comes in. You gotta make these awkward situations. So are you willing to do, or for your wife to do a car wash? Yeah. Do you want your wife to do a car wash? Or better yet, do you want your wife's parents to take care of your burial? So I would start attacking pride, right? So because at that point, this guy is acting like alpha, right? He's like, yeah, whatever happens, happens, right? So one of my buddy, Brian, he always had this one line, and he's actually licensed now, but he said this way back before. He said, he's Mexican. He's in the Hispanic community. He said, you know what? Us people are Mexicans. We love pickup trucks. He said, we love our trucks, man. So if I ever get into a Hispanic client, he said this, hey, man, you love your truck? You got insurance on that truck? You love your family? You got insurance on your family? Also, you love your truck more than your family. So he would start attacking him based on his wants and his cultural aspects, and then get them and said, yeah, man, we got to protect your family. We love our trucks because we cherish it. We keep it clean. We do everything for our truck. You don't want to do that for your family? So if you ever have any Hispanic clients like straight up with their nice pickup trucks in the front yard, that's a good way to attack them.
well, I mean, it's very rarely that they actually don't love their family. I think most of the time it's always the latter. It's always them. They're just afraid. They're afraid of thinking about the situation because they think it's so unaffordable, or they think they can't qualify because they don't know anything about life insurance.
Yes.
In which, if we as agents don't stand up for the client and push a little bit harder and actually try to make this into a productive
conversation,
meeting, and actually get them to actually address it, think about it, be open-minded to it, then they're never going to get any help because they're thinking about the truck right now, because it's like it's tangible right directly in front of them. As far as the taking care of their death when they pass away,
yeah,
they just think it's so far-fetched of an idea because it's not going to happen for a while, for one.
Yeah, they think they're young.
They also think it's too expensive, and it's really not. We can always find an affordable rate for somebody.
Yeah, and most likely it'll be cheaper than car insurance, especially on a truck. Yeah. So it's just a matter of it's a new bill with life insurance. It's a new insurance bill, and they think it's an additional cost to what their expenses would be. Right. So if we can create the value of the life insurance bigger than the bill, they're gonna get it.
Plus don't be don't be shy. Just push a little bit more, because the thing is, if you can't sell them, you can't sell them anyway, right? But the thing is, even if you can't sell them, the thing is you want to be able to go through every process, every step to make sure that you did your job, because you'll feel good about it afterwards, even if you don't sell it. Yeah. Like if a client says like, oh, I don't know, I can't afford $40 a month, or I can't afford $100 a month, or $300 a month, or whatever it is, and just be like, okay, so how do you expect your family to be able to afford $30,000 for your funeral? Like how do you expect them to do that? Then make them answer it. Make them a little bit uncomfortable. Make them answer, because they gotta think about it.
Yeah.
Even if they don't get it right now, at least they'll be like, maybe there's something I need to think about for the future.
Yeah, you brought on a problem they haven't solved yet, and it's going to be left up in the air. And so you start attacking them. Do you want to take care of your family? Do you want to provide for them? You want to make sure that while you're living, it's there, and then when you're gone, it's also there, right? So these are the life insurance rebuttals that we should be using. And yeah, it's part of sales. It's a part of changing their perspective in taking care of their family and purchasing life insurance.
And maybe not attacking them, but
Attacking the
problem,
solution,
attacking
yeah.
the problem,
And the
and
problem.
forcing them to critically think about it.
Right, right. And then these are hard questions that people do put off for a long period of time because they think they have time. You know, their 30s, now their 40s, their 50s, their 60s, their 70s. Now they start doing it. Right. So we do have a lot of senior clients that did, you know, take too long, and now it's catching up to them as far as cost. And then they're looking and price shopping, and they still think they want to get a $30 plan compared to a 30-year-old. Right. So be approachable to the clients, understand their needs, but also be comfortable asking those awkward situations and making it a point. So even if they didn't buy from you, now it's in their head.
Be a little assertive in those situations, because number one, you're the professional, and if you don't be a little assertive in that, and force them to think about it, force them to talk about this, then the thing is you're enabling your clients, in which that's not your job. Everybody loses that way. So even if you don't sell them, make them think about it.
Yes, yes. And then more importantly, this doesn't happen so much in our situation because we do buy leads. We are buying leads, and clients are expressing interest into our programs. But this will come in across friends, family members, you know, referrals, where somebody else referred them because they really feel like they need to get it and they still need to be convinced.
Well, no, I mean, I think a lot of times people fill out a lead, and then they still kind of give you that like,
Yeah.
oh, you know, I'm not worried about what happens when I die. The Lord will take care of me, or whatever. Right? Just think about the dynamic of that. They had interest because they filled this out in the first place, so they wanted to know about it, but then they're just scared, and they're afraid to let you know that they can't afford it, or they think they can't afford it. Like, they're in a vulnerable position, so they're acting out.
Yeah, it's a smoke screen that we do have to overcome. So, and then usually at that point, if you're doing your job correctly, there's no real objection besides the cash or affordability objection, right? And then once you get it to that point, it's just a matter of finding out the best plan available and then fitting it in their budget. Any other questions on that? Did you guys have any questions to follow up? Ingrid mentioned that's a good one. I had a dial call today and said that she had already purchased the policy. Now I know how to handle that in a situation if it happens again. Oh yeah, perfect. Always look for fine prints. Always look for a policy information, because what they remember or what they think they got is not exactly, usually not what's on paper, right? They might hear 30,000, now they think it's 3 million. They might think it's term, now it's permanent. So as soon as you find that information, you'll be.
Well, we follow up on Ingrid's question. I mean, as far as when people purchase the policy already, the thing is, I think we've seen a lot of because we used to train in the field. Yeah. We used to take agents out with us, and then the things when people say like, I already have a policy. Most newer agents, they tend to get a little defensive, and they'd be like, oh, well, what kind of policy you have? That's not a good policy, or that company's no good, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like, in reality, like, what we should do is we should edify the client and like make them feel like they did a good job.
Yes.
Which they did. They took the initiative and they actually got it. So I think we should always just take the attitude like, oh, great. Okay, if you have a policy, perfect. So it makes my job really easy. So let's go ahead and review what you currently have. Mm-hmm. If it fills all of your fulfills all of your needs, then you're good, and we can move on, and we know that you're protected. And then if not, if there's some gaps in your coverage, maybe we can provide some options that you might be able to qualify for.
Yeah, the number one mistake you don't want to do or have is to battle and make them feel like they got scammed buying their life insurance, because now you're the next life insurance agent trying to sell them another one. So if they felt like they made a bad decision, aren't you going to be the second bad decision?
you're not creating favor for yourself in the situation, because yes. if you made them feel like they've made a mistake, they don't want to make another mistake with you.
Yeah. So you want to edify them. Hey, great. You're thinking about life insurance. You want to protect your family. Let me see if I can put you in a better situation. Common questions I would have if they come back and say, I have a life insurance policy already. Sometimes it's on the note. Sometimes it's on the lead that we purchased. They have an existing policy. I just asked 3 questions. So what are you looking to do? How can I help you today? Are you looking to add to that policy? Are you looking to find a lower rate? Are you looking to replace it or keep it? So ask multiple questions, and just to see what they're gauging at. If they've had it for quite a while, it's usually not good to replace it. We just want to add to it, right? But if they had it recently, they just purchased it within the last 30 days, field is open. You might have a better solution for them.
I just think about it when they say, I already took care of it. I already have a policy. What they're really saying is like, they're just trying to get rid of you at that moment, because they don't want to be pressured into buying another thing or whatever the case. So if they say, I already have a policy, it's fine, I already have a policy. Just be, oh, great, it makes my job real easy then. Like you've taken down that sales pressure, right? You've
Yeah.
taken you're no longer combative with them. And then at the very least, just be like, hey, let me just see if I can save you some money. You know, we got some different programs out there as a broker. We have many different options. Let me just see if I can save you some money. And if you got the best plan available, great. At least we'll just go and review your coverage. And then, we know you're covered.
Yeah, I think the best thing is to make sure you extend the conversation. Don't feel defeated as soon as they give you that objection. It's still a conversation. It's still an entry point into their position. And at the worst case scenario, if you cannot help them, I was mentioning this to Femi. Great, they took care of their life insurance. Who else within their circle of influence needs life insurance? What about your wife? What about your kids? So sometimes Femi was saying, like, I mean, shoot, this is a few dollars of a lead, right? It's a $12 lead, $30 lead. Well, turn that lead into money. They bought life insurance. They believed in life insurance. Who else in their family needs life insurance? You can sell them a $10, Mutual of Omaha Children's Whole Life. That'll offset your lead cost. And then now it's a future policy holder. If they have any future questions in later on, 6 months down the line, 12 months down the line, their friend, brother, sister felt that they had life insurance at work and now they need more outside of it, you're their guy. So maintaining that connection and maintaining the relationships, the best thing. So before we continue, any other questions on this specific topic? We're going to go on to a next question.
What if a client wants to speak Spanish instead? Do I still follow the script? Yeah, if you're a Spanish speaker, just translate it into, or as closely as you can, because I know not a lot of words are exact translations, but yeah, it still works the same thing. Because it's really not so much about, and whether it's English, Spanish, whatever language you speak, it's not really so much about the words itself. It's more about, it's not about what you say, it's more about how you say it.
Right. And not just that, what is really a script? Okay. When you say follow the script, when we're saying a script, we just have specific little principles that you want to address during the conversation, right? First off, what are you calling about? Who are you? What are you calling them for? What you're going to do for them and what you're going to provide for them, right? So you don't have to go verbatim. You can just maintain that whether you're speaking in English or Spanish. Okay. Who I am, what I'm going to do for you, why I called you. Here's the programs that are available. Yeah. So as long as you maintain those lines to understand it, should be good.
Yeah, I mean, a script is mainly to keep things in order, to make sure that you don't forget to ask certain key questions, because I've done it without a script at times, and then sometimes I'm like, oh, I know exactly what I want to say, but I forgot to bring this up, and so it's to kind of help keep you on track. But also, if you are to translate or you create your own script for a certain language, the things, make sure that you maintain control, which is always to finish everything with a question, so then you stay within control there. That's my advice.
And not just that, but keep it personal. Like the worst thing you do is you're reading the script and you're so monotone, whether it's Spanish or English, that they're not relaying a good communication with you. It's not personable anymore. So you don't want to be too strict, right? Follow the lines, but it's a personable conversation. So that's the main thing you want to stick to. All right. So next question that we got a client that says, okay, Albert, what's the best thing to do for my kids? Okay, insurance wise or planning wise. Okay, you're going to run into a lot of clients, they care about their family. They love their kids. What should I do? You're the professional. What would you give advice for?
Well, I mean, I guess typically I would never really start with the kids. I would kind of just start with the parents, because the parents are the breadwinners, or they're the ones that take care of the children. So if they're already covered or they can't qualify or whatever the case may be, then you pivot and you go to the children if you have children. Mm-hmm. So generally, I mean, at that point, I feel like if you did the discovery during the financial inventory, you ask these questions up front, you know what their budget is more or less. And for the most part, most of the clients that we talk to, they're middle to lower income.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. The majority of the leads that fill out the majority of the leads.
Right.
So I mean, I think for those situations, the Children's Whole Life is really simple and straightforward. What's like $5 to like $15 a month.
Yeah. Like $22 for like a 0-year-old would get them like $50,000.
Yeah. So that's a pretty simple one. Now, if the client says like, hey, I would really want to put aside money for their college, or want to start building up a substantial policy, then we can look into the route of an IUL and start building out something for them in that situation.
Going into that then. So let's say you get a middle income earner, or maybe middle to high income. They have money. They're telling you, Albert, I want to do $200-300 a month, because I am looking to set up something for my kid. which is a little bit bigger, than just a regular whole life, what would your 1 minute pitch to them would be?
Which was better?
Or just like explaining the IUL for kids in a 1 minute pitch.
I would just let them know, hey, it's going to build up a larger face amount for them, but also it's going to start building up cash value for the accumulation. So it gives them options in the future. So however you want to fund it, it's up to you, depending on what your budget is. And I'll say we can run a couple of illustrations. If you have an idea of how much you roughly want to put aside a month for it, I'll put that together and we'll get a chance to run that and explain that to you.
And then what would be the benefit of that, the IUL for the kids?
Well, an IUL would start building up more cash value than the children's whole life would. So that's one benefit. But also you can start building up a larger face amount. So then, they have something put in place for the future. So, if they were to become uninsurable in the future, or something happens, something changes with their health or ability to be able to qualify for insurance, they have that in place. I mean,
yeah. So we actually have a training. It's on YouTube where we had, I forgot his name, the main rep for FNG. Slipped our mind.
Tom.
We'll just go with Tom. Forgot Tom's last name. But Tom came out. That was one of the last questions we had on FNG. But you can do like between $100 to $200 a month on a young kid. It can start building up for them so that by the time, they're year 18, 19, 20, there's enough money there to either borrow to pay off the loans so that they don't accrue interest on student loans, or wait it out if they got away with college within their 30s, they can have enough money to borrow out of a down payment on a house. Or if you leave it all alone, let them take care of it. When they're older, they continue paying on the policy. It could be a retirement income for them. So this is the importance of starting at an IUL before they're 0 through 5, and it builds up, because the most important thing on an IUL, the cost of insurance is so low on a kid that most of the policy premiums are building up to the cash value. And not just that, because they're so young, you have years and years of the compounding that's going to be really useful at the end, 20, 30 years to 40, 50 years down the road. So that's the benefit of it, from college to down payment to future retirement.
Asterisk, if funded properly. So if you want to learn more about that, that's actually on our YouTube page if you want to check it out.
Right. You got it.
Tom Edgington, right? I don't even remember. I'm just double check. I know it's poor etiquette,
but it is on our FFL Elite clips.
Yes,
it'll be on the videos in there.
I'm Edgington. I was right.
Good mind. So yeah, 1 hour long, very, very useful for one of our main carriers for FNG. Any other questions?
Did we get any other questions? But Ivan, you got some?
You said
I have
go
for it.
For the IULs, like when you're explaining about the kids and they still can't understand it, would you recommend like sending them a video about what IUL is or no?
It depends. I mean, so in your scenario, are you the one introducing the IUL, or they came and asked you about an IUL?
They asked me about it because they heard about it, but they don't really know how it works.
Yeah. So what I would do is actually I would just get on a call with either an upline that knows what they're doing, or ask a specialist on the AMS, which I think they're changing it, they're rebranding to Simple Retirement Solutions.
Yeah.
So I would ask a specialist on there, or you can reach out to one of us and we'll help you with that. I think the most important thing is to kind of figure out what their budget is, what their long-term financial goals are with this particular policy. If they're looking for a certain amount of coverage, because that does change the cost of insurance. And then so we can figure out what their priorities are. Then once we get a chance to put together an illustration, I think that's the most powerful thing that we can show them, to show them long-term how this is going to work, how short-term it's going to work. So that'll probably, people want to see the numbers.
Okay.
Yeah. But to like simplify what an IUL will do is like, it's a life insurance product. The life insurance product builds cash value, and the cash value will compound interest throughout the years. So the younger you are that you started and the more money you put into it, it builds up that nest egg for them, and they can do whatever they want with the nest egg.
Right. And not all IUL policies are created equally, because we run into other ones and where the agents, I'm like, what was the agent thinking in the situation? Like, aside from them wanting to get paid,
right?
Like a lot of times they design it where the target premium is really high because that's how they maximize on their commission. But doesn't really serve the client in the long run because their cost of insurance is so high, then the cash value is not really going to build, and then point which
It
can go upside down.
implodes. Yeah, it goes upside down on you. Think of it like the the housing market. Their interest rates were so high, it didn't build any principal, and then the value of the house went down. It was upside down.
It gets way over leveraged in certain situations. So I mean, if they have an idea of how an IUL works, just ask them, what's your main priority? Are you gonna have a lot of coverage, or are you looking to build up cash value? Is there a certain amount that you want to put aside for this? Is there a certain amount of coverage that you minimally need in this policy? So once you ask these questions, then we'll be able to put together an illustration.
Yeah, but the good part about IULs on kids, it's less likely to happen to underfund it. Right? Because most of the time, because the kid's age between 0 to 5, their cost of insurance is so low, most of the money is going to the cash value. So even if it's $50 a month or $100 a month, that's going to be enough because we'll lower the face amount to the minimum level and overfund it. It's higher likely to happen between like ages of 40 and up. That gets upside down on you. Yeah. So if you see old new IULs on older clients, it's good to really look at the illustrations to see if it's even going to last long, or it's basically built just like a 10-year term.
Makes sense.
Anything else we'd help you on with that? That answer your question.
Yeah, that answered my question.
So last part, we'll go into your story. You said you had a story that you wanted to bring up.
I had a kind of funny story that had a agent asked me a question, or a couple of agents asked me a question, but it made me think about this one funny story where, so my work wife, because when I used to work, and you know her,
right?
So, we're very competitive, and we're very argumentative with one another in like a friendly way. But she sent me this meme one day, and then like she's been anti-social media for the longest time.
Right.
She finally got on, and she sent me this meme that says like, sometimes don't you like arguing with someone even though you know you're wrong, just because you want to see how mad they get.
Yeah.
And so she sends that to me, and I'm like, I think I would do that with you. And I say that because like, we have that type of relationship, but also I'm like, in reality, I don't think I ever argue with most people because I'm very confident in my memory and my ability to be able to recall in certain situations. So like, if I know I'm wrong, I'll just be like, okay, yeah, whatever, I'm wrong.
Right.
But if they're trying to argue with me about something, I'm like, I don't care what you say. Like, I remember exactly how the situation went down. I recall every moment, like what you were wearing, what was specifically said. So like in those situations, I'm like, yeah, I don't really argue with people too much on that, which actually brought me up to a couple questions. And John Wetmore talked about it earlier today on our builders call. I think it's important for you to get feedback from other people, like when you ask these questions. And one of the most certain ways in which you can get accurate feedback on the correct assessment of the actual situation is to do it on live dials. Because I have agents ask me like, hey, what would you say in this situation? And I'm like, I would say this. And they're like, I did say that. And, they may or may not have said it, but I'm like, I really have no way of assessing whether or not that's true, or if you delivered it properly.
Right.
Right. Because the timing could have been off. It could have been, or you could have been addressing something because you misread the client and what they were actually saying. So I think if you guys are in a situation where you guys are running across the same type of objections over and over again, I would highly recommend you guys get on live dials and unmute yourself, turn on your camera, because I think it allows you to engage, and you're that much more involved in that particular presentation, and you'll have a little bit more pride in yourself to do a good job. And then more importantly, you have other people listening to you, other people can accurately help you with the situation, because people have helped me on this. Like, there's sometimes I'll get stuck on something, and then like I'm not even thinking anyone's really paying that close attention.
Yeah.
And afterwards they'll be like, hey, you could have said this or whatever, and I'm like, oh, good. And I'm like, I can't dispute it because they heard me.
So I think being on the live dials and unmuting, just understand that you're there to get better. You're not there to get criticism, and you're not there to act perfect. We're all going to make mistakes, and we want to get better. We want to get into all the sales. We want to get as much sales as possible. So think of it this way. If you're on the live dials, you got 10 other people giving you the best positive feedback for you to get better, to get more sales. Or you dial alone, nobody's watching. You think you're doing it perfectly. Nobody's going to tell you that you're doing it wrong. And you're going to last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe for a long time, until you figure out, maybe I'm doing something wrong, that I need to do something different, because you don't have any feedback.
Well, if you're calling on your own, and which is you're right. I mean, we're all independent.
You can still sell too. Yeah.
You could do that if you're doing well and you're getting good results. I mean,
Yeah.
cool, keep doing it. But if you're not getting the results that you want, and then it continues to it'll only get worse, because it's not because of our inability to be able to fix a situation or improve, but for the most part, psychologically, you start creating this like negative feedback loop
Mhm.
within your own mind.
Mhm.
You create this negative echo chamber, of your own thoughts.
And it's no longer your fault. It's everyone else's fault or everything's fault.
Right. Or you're looking at a situation totally wrong, because if you're in your head, you're thinking, and you created a situation, and that situation, like it's like telephone game, and then you start like creating like false narratives about that, and false
Yep.
narratives about that, because you're trying to protect your ego, and
Right.
then you're not even thinking about the actual situation anymore, which only can harm your business.
And it all just comes back to you. It's what you're doing or what you're saying, right? So if we can help you fix what you're saying, that's the important thing about the live dials. But if you think you're perfect on that, and it's not what I'm saying, and it's not what I'm doing, it's everything else. Now you're blaming everything. It's the leads. It's the clients. The clients don't call back. Nobody wants to pick up. It's the whole California. There's the whole state. It's the United States. All right. So you will create new excuses at that point. So the best thing we can do is let's get you fixed. Let's get you working. Let's get you finding more clients. And sometimes it might not be the clients. It's just more activity that we're doing, and being on the live dials creates more activity for you, because instead of getting shut down, rejected, and taking a break, you get the feedback, you go back to the next one, correct it, make a sale.
Just try to be coachable in those situations, because our goal is for everyone to get better. Everyone that wants to get better, for them to be able to have the opportunity to get better.
Yeah. And it really alleviates us a lot from as a manager standpoint, from having the one-on-ones on the same thing we can repetitively do, to where it's a quick fix on the live dials as well. Any other questions before we wrap up? That's pretty much all that we have today. We're good, Ingrid, Ivan? Cool.
Yeah,
Thank you
we're
guys.
good. And thank you very much for all the feedback and the nuggets.
Yeah, of course, our pleasure.
So we'll wrap it up. This is going to be live. This is going to be saved. It's going to be on YouTube, FFL Elite Clips. If you guys haven't visited yet, please go on it, subscribe, like it, so that we can increase the volume of content on there. All right. We'll see you guys next week.
Appreciate you guys.
Have a good one.